Hello friends, class 3 Constitutionalism. Why do we need constitutionalism? The state had come into existence to prevent entropy. The citizen had come together voluntarily and they created the state. There is also an upward delegation of power from the citizen to the state. The state has been given the responsibility of protecting the promoting the rights of citizens and also maximize their welfare. For example, the legislature is given the power to make legislation, the executive to implement them, and the judiciary to review them for their the constitutional validity. According to Thomas Hobbes, a famous British political philosopher, over the some time the state has become a leviathan. Example, those who are part of the state instead of working for the welfare of citizens started working against the interests. They started acquiring more power unto themselves. The relationship between the state and citizen is the two-person zero-sum game. Example, the state can acquire more powers only at the cost of the freedoms of and rights of citizen. Power corrupts and the absolute power corrupt absolutely. If absolute power is given to a state, it can result in the dictatorship of the state. The concept of the constitutionalism has come into existence to prevent such a scenario. The constitutionalism can be defined from the various dimensions. First, dimension of the constitutionalism. In simple terms, the constitutionalism means spirit implementation of the rule of law in the both letter and spirit. Example, rule of law should be there in a reality also. The law must protect honest and the responsible citizen and a strong punishment from those who violate the law. Another dimension of the constitutionalism is the fundamental rights. Our constitutional forefather defined the entire essence of our constitution is term of the fundamental rights of citizens. The constitutionalism can be defined in the term of ability of the state to protect and promote the fundamental rights of the citizens. Constitutionalism can be defined in the term of limited governments. Example, none of the organs of the state should have absolute powers. In our constitutional democracy, the three organs of the state, example, legislature, executive, and judiciary, are the supreme in their the domain, but are not sovereign. It is the constitution that can be the considered a sovereign documents. These three organs of the state derives their power from the constitution, and they have the only limited power. The constitutionalism can also be defined as the having inherent checks and balances within the system so that none of the organs of a state can become the dictatorial functioning. For example, judiciary has the power to declare any law null and void if it violates the fundamental rights of the citizen. Article 13. Legislature has the power to ensure the continuous accountability executives and passing of the budget, confidence and no confidence motion. Similarly, parliament has the power to define the boundaries of the judicial functioning through various legislation. It ensures the proper checks and balances within the systems. Finally, constitutionalism can be defined as the sovereignty of citizens. All three organs of the state derives their power from the constitution, which is framed the citizen of the country. In a constitutional democracy, citizens are sovereign, as have the ability to remove the governor. remove the government through the election. Important feature of the constitutionalism: written constitution, separation of the powers between three organs of the states, independent judiciary, judicial review, federal form of democracy, civilian control over army, rule of law, civilian control over law enforcement agencies. In our parliament, democracy, all these features are present, but in the must remembers they should be the present in the both letter and spirit. It is said that India they are the primarily present in the letter but not fully spirit, but due to the may weaknesses in the functioning of our institution. For example, more than the 48 million cases are the pending at different levels in our judicial system. 43.5% of MPs and Lok Sabha have criminal records. Reforms should be implemented in the functioning of the various institutions and ensure the constitutionalism in the both letter and spirit. Parliamentary democracy. In parliamentary democracy, the executive becomes from the legislature and is accountable to the legislature. India has opted for the parliamentary democracy over the presidential form of the government because it ensures the continuous accountability of the Council of the Minister headed by the Prime Minister to the legislature. Federal form of democracy. Our constitutional forefathers have realized the fact that such urge advice divisors country as India cannot be governed from the single place. They have opted for the federal policy with the division of power between the union and state governments. In 1992, the federalism was further expanded, included the third tier of the government, local self-government, independent judiciary. Our constitutional forefathers have made sure that the judiciary would be remain the independent of the legislature and executives. It is given the most important function of judicial review to ensure constitutionalism. Any law which restrict the scope of the fundamental rights can be declared null and void by our judiciary. The fundamental rights. The essence of our entire constitution lies in the fundamental rights. They are necessary for effective functioning of democracy. They protect citizens from the dictation of the executives, but none of the fundamental rights is absolute. The state can impose the reasonable restriction. Fundamental duties. These are not a part of the original constitution. They have been added 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. They define the duties of the citizens like respecting the constitution, national flag and national anthem, protecting the sovereignty of the country and so on. Secularism. Our constitutional forefathers had realized the fact that unity and integrity of a country are possible only when the country is truly secular. Example, the state does not differentiate between the people based on their religion. It recognizes all the religious and that treats them equal. Directive principle of state policy. This directive principle of state policy provides the guidelines to the executives while formulating the public policy. They are not legally enforceable. Violation of the DPSPs cannot be the question in the court of the law because they are only the directives. Nature of the Constitution. It is both rigid and flexible. It is rigid because some provision of the Constitution require the special majority to make them any changes to them, whereas the rest of them require simple majority in the floor of the House. Single citizenship. Our constitutional forefathers realized that it is possible to ensure the unity and integrity of the nation. Only this single citizenship Having the multiple identities can create problem in the ensuring the unity and integrity of the our nation. Emergency provisions. Emergency provisions have been included in the face extraordinary situation. Uh, Whenever the country's sovereignty is threatened by the external forces or law and order problems are created internally, these emergency provisions can be used by restore normalcy. Criticism against our constitution. The critics claim that the Constituent Assembly was not a sovereign body. Many critics believe that the Indian Constitution contains the nothing new, and the original critics described it as the borrowed constitution. The Indian Constitution critics claim is the un-Gandhian because it is lack of the ideology and principles of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation. The critics felt that Indian constitution was too legislative and very complicated. Sir Iyer Janin, a British constitutionalist, called it is a lawyer's paradise. Critics commented that the Indian constitution was dominated by the Congress only. Class 4. The criticism of the Indian constitution, lengthiest constitution in the world. Indian constitution has been the critics was one of the lengthiest constitution is the world. The original constitution has 8 schedules and hundreds of the articles. It is said that our constitutional forefather would not differentiate between that is a constitution had what is day-to-day administration. They include all activities related to day-to-day administration in the constitution. It is argued that our constitutional forefathers have included minutes aspects of the government in the constitution because they do not want to future generation to suffer because of any ambiguity. Bag of borrowed materials. Critics have allowed that there is nothing original in the Indian constitution and it is the nothing but bag of borrowed materials. Indian constitution borrowed from the various sources including America, British, German, Canadian and other constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, chairman of the drafting committee, has accepted this criticism, but at the same time, they argued that the constitutional forefathers' desire was given to best constitution to the people of the country and they have borrowed the best features of the various constitution. Indian constitution is criticized as an extension of the Government of India Act 1935. The major features of the constitution are the borrowed from the Government of India Act 1935, including federalism, judicial, parliamentary form of government and so on. But this criticism is not valid because our constitutional forefathers have made significant changes to all those features. These basic differences between the Government of India Act 1935 and the Indian Constitution is that our Constitution is the sovereign document, whereas Government of India Act 1935 was the legislation passed by the British Parliament for this colony India. The complete exclusion of Gandhian value. Critics have alleged that the Indian constitution reflects more Western liberal political ideology and Gandhian's values. Mahatma Gandhi believed in the community life, village life, and self-rule municipal estate, minimal estate, and more the freedom of the people, but our constitutional forefathers have given more importance to the strong power and centralized state. They also gave a lot of the importance to the fundamental rights. They realized to the mistake of the ignoring Gandhian values and included them the later in the fundamental DPSPs. Our constitution is the criticized as the lawyer's paradise and the common man's nightmares. The most of the member of the Constituent Assembly and the legally backgrounds it is reflected in the Constitution. The language used is very complicated and extremely difficult to the understand. It is only other reason have our constitution did not become the popular with the masses. It is also the reason for the inability of the ordinarily people to make use of the rights and the freedom provided in the constitution. The schedules of the Indian constitution, the original constitution 8 schedules, later four more schedules were added through the various constitutional amendment. First schedule, it includes names of the state and union territories. It also includes there the territorial jurisdiction. It covers article 1 to 4. Second schedule, it has provision related to the emolument allowance and the privileges of the constitutional authorities like the president, governor, speaker, deputy speaker, chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha, state legislative assemblies, judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts and CAG. Third schedule, it defines the forms of oath and affirmation of union ministers, members of the parliament, judges of Supreme Court, High Court, CAG, state MLAs, MPs and so on. Fourth schedule, allocation of the seat in Rajya Sabha to the states and UTs. Article 4 and Article 80 talks about the allocation of the seats. Fourth schedule हो गया. Fifth schedule, the provision related to the administration and the control of the scheduled areas and the scheduled tribes. Article 244 of the Indian Constitution talks about this. The sixth schedule, it has the provision related to the administration of the tribal areas in the states of the Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Seventh schedule, it has the provision related to the division of the power between the union and state in the form of the list 1, list 2, list 3. List 1 M is union list, list 2 is a state list and list 3 is the concurrent list. Eighth schedule, the language recognized by the constitution. Originally 8th schedule had 14 languages. At present 22 languages are there: Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Maithili, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Nepali, Odia, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Santhali, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu. Sindhi was added 22nd Amendment 1967. Konkani, Manipur and Nepali were added 71st Amendment in 1992. Bodo, Dogri and Maithili, Santhali were added 92nd Amendment in 2003 and Odia was renamed Odia 2011 by the 96th Amendment. Ninth schedule, it was added by the First Amendment and the Constitution to protect law from the judicial scrutiny. 10th schedule, it was added by the 52nd Amendment and the Constitution. It is related to the disqualification of the members of the Parliament and state legislature on the grounds of the defection. 11th schedule, it was added the 73rd Constitutional Amendment of 1992. It is related to rural local self-government. 12th schedule, it was added by the 74th Constitutional Amendment of the 1992. It is related to the urban local self-government. Thank you very much. Subscribe.